Hey there, Hofstra fans. Welcome to the WB Mason Coaches Report here on GoHofstra.com. My name is Kevin Dexter, joined as always by the head coach of the Hofstra Pride Men's Lacrosse team, Seth Tierney. Coach, how are you?
Kev, thanks for having me.
Coming off a huge win this weekend, best victory on the road in program history over number 2 Notre Dame on Saturday. What are the overall thoughts?
Yeah, I thought we, a great team effort. Played well. You always go home as a coach. You watch the film and you're like, we played okay. And I'm sure Notre Dame's doing the same thing. So we're trying to fix some of the things that we need to fix moving forward here. But overall, unbelievable effort on the road. Tough place to win. Those guys haven't lost there very often in their last couple of years. And, I'm just really happy for the guys.
And it came against a Notre Dame team that the 2 previous weeks had come back and won games in overtime by 1 goal. So when you were coming down the stretch, they were starting to make a little bit of a comeback. How were you able to contain them and still come away with that 1-goal win?
Yeah, it seemed like this year, no lead is really good enough, and we made some mistakes towards the end. They got a couple goals, and it got a little scary at the end there when we gave them possession. And then finally we had called a timeout with 12 seconds or 11 and change or 12 and change seconds to go. One of my concerns was having them set up, but I just wanted us to be set up first. So we called the timeout, and at least we got a minute and a half of rest, organized the defense, let everybody know what we're doing, and we were fortunate that Ryan Riley knocked the pass down and then kicked it out of the box. Mark Mullen picked it up and sealed the victory.
Well, Notre Dame's got one of the best goalies in the country in John Kemp, but your goaltender, Chris Selva, able to outshine him on Saturday. What do you think of Chris's performance?
Yeah, Chris did a great job. I mean, he's stepping up when he needs to step up. I think he'd like to have a couple back. I think we probably mention that every week. But that's a competitive goalie for you, and Chris is a big-time competitor. So I thought he did a good job. He made one really good save off hip and deflected it out of bounds when we had a little breakdown defensively. But overall, again, I thought Kevin Unterstein and John Gorman did a great job with a defensive game plan. We got to throw out a little bit of congrats to Mark Mullen shutting down or doing a great job on Kavanaugh, who's one of the country's best attackmen. And certainly our defensive midfielders doing a good job against some athletic middies.
You mentioned that defense. Obviously, Selva's going to get the recognition because of the saves he made, but how important was that defense? Notre Dame, not traditionally that team that's known for their offense, but this year they've been putting up a lot of goals, have a lot of talent, and still able to shut them down and hold them to only 7.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is 7 people playing it at one time, and the goalie's part of that. And if the defense does a good job, then Chris is seeing shots that he likes and that he can get a beat on, and he can read people. When we have a breakdown, then Chris either has to pull a save out of his hat, or he's got to, or we get burned a little bit. So it's a work in progress. Still trying to build chemistry. We got back from Notre Dame on the bus back from the airport. We talked about it already. We're not where we should be just yet. And you shouldn't be. But this is a climb, and we got to slowly kind of get better every day in practice.
Well, in the midfield last week, John Antonitis had a big performance, his first big one of the season, the win over Harvard. He comes back with another one against Notre Dame. What do you think of him and how he's progressing and getting better as the season's going on?
Yeah, John's done a good job bouncing back from the beginning of the season. He's focused. Their guy is a big, strong athlete that's done a great job. And John went out there, and I think he was 66% or 60% or whatever it may be. And I thought he did a great job. I really did. He provided that spark. The one thing that I was really proud of John Antonitis was it was physical in there. And the first face-off of the game, he loses his helmet. I mean, it gets ripped right off his head. And there was no retaliation. It was just pick up your helmet and play. And that sets a tone for us, whether he knows it or not. That sets a tone for us that whatever happens, we've got to stay together, and the goal is to win.
Well, offensively, you score 7 different goal scorers. Torren bottom with 2. Everybody else, or a lot of different guys, I should say, chipping in with 1. What do you think of the offensive balance, and how did you need that to come away with the win?
I mean, I got to think that if we're playing Hofstra and we're game planning towards Hofstra, that Torren Farm's got to come out in the first couple of sentences. And Torren is such a complete team player that he will sacrifice no goals for a team win. And when you have that type of attitude, it breeds throughout the team. And so we're thrilled with Torren, with getting another multiple goal game, and other guys stepping up. For some of the young guys, Sam Linares throwing in a goal at the end there. Brian Von Bargen, those are 2 freshmen. Tyler Begley and Mike Malave, the 2 sophomores. And Adrian had 1, and Torren had 2, and Lance had the last one. and those are two juniors and obviously one senior in Adrian. So it's spread out, and that's well balanced, and that makes it difficult for other teams to scout against us.
And when Notre Dame in the second half starts to pay more attention to Torn and trying to shut him down, you happy with the way the rest of the attack and the midfield responded?
Yeah, I mean, that's when I thought that Sam and Adrian and Lance scored some of their goals, and Mike Malave scored their goals. And they were one-on-one dodging goals, and if they're coming from the crease, who's inside is Torn Barn. So if they're slow to come from Torn, that means we should be getting some shots off or things like that. But every game is a different story. We talk about it now because it's the media and it's the big story. But Notre Dame's already in our rearview mirror, and we got a monster game coming up.
As you mentioned, Coach, it's still only the fifth game of the season, despite how big of a win it is. So how do you make sure the team enjoys the win, they celebrate the win, but also puts it behind them and get moving forward as conference play starting this weekend?
I'm going to say yesterday's practice was pretty clear that we forgot about Notre Dame already. We got back to work. We understood that we need to. There are still things to work on. We told the guys what they were. I think they agreed. And today we'll start game planning towards Delaware. And it's a huge conference game. The first one, it's very important to get out early in the conference. And the conference has changed up some of the playoff situations. And now it's going to be at one site, and the highest seed is going to host. And one of our goals at the beginning of the year was to host that conference tournament. Well, in order to do that, we got to press rewind, and it starts this weekend with step one. And step one is making sure we pay attention to the details of Delaware and what they're great at. And they are big, they are strong, they are fast. Do not read into their record. They're a very, very talented team.
I was just going to mention that they were a team who struggled last year a little bit, but Delaware's had some success in the past 10 years or so. So what is the game plan going into the
Coach Schillinglow does a great job. I mean, he does a great job recruiting. He's got big, strong athletes there. They've had a couple of upsets happen to them this year. It just plays into the story. But right now, Hofstra has to take care of Hofstra. The game plan will go in today, tomorrow, with the finishing touches on Thursday. But it's going to be more about what we do and how we do it versus anything else. We're going to watch a lot of film. We have, now that we're getting, you mentioned there's 5 games, and at Delaware's even more into that. I think that this might be their 8th game of the season, and we've got a couple of their games. We've got to study film. We've got to pick up on some tendencies, and we've got to figure out what they're about.
Well, Delaware obviously knows you're coming off the Notre Dame win. They know you're in the top 10 in the polls now, so you're going to have that target on your back. How are the players, you prepared to deal with that, knowing everybody's coming for you? We
talked about it on the way home. This game changes from the Notre Dame game where you go from the hunter to the hunted now, and that you still have to prepare for a victory. And in order to do that, you have to prepare like you're the underdog. And we, the coaching staff, we're going to make sure that we prepare like we're the underdog this week.
Well, finally, Coach, you head down to Delaware on Saturday. What's going to be the key to keeping this winning streak alive?
Yeah, I mean, we got to play harder. And we got to play smarter. And we got to make sure that we're efficient offensively, having the ball. Again, John's going to have his work cut out for him against a very good face-off guy. They're going to be athletic like Notre Dame. We got to handle Delaware's pressure, and we got to weather some runs. They have runs at their place where they go on 2, 3, 4 goal runs. We got to weather that storm and make sure that we stay the course. And it's one goal, one play at a time. And our goal is to be 1-0 on Saturday night.
All right, Seth Tierney, the head coach of the Hofstra Pride men's lacrosse team. His team heading down to Newark, Delaware, taking on the Fighting Blue Hens 1 o'clock on Saturday. Coach, best of luck. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Kevin.
And thank you for tuning in to the W.B. Mason Coaches Report here on GoHofstra.com.